All right, this time I know. Hello, everyone. I'm here today with Chris Melendrez, and I've talked with him before on an interview about a year ago. It's been a while, and we have not had one for
Is
a
it
good,
has it been a year already?
well, I
Probably.
around there. I can't believe that
Yeah.
either.
Wow.
Shocking, shocking.
Mm.
Yeah. But so today we're gonna catch up, talk about a bunch of different things. We don't have a plan, but yeah, let's
How I
see here.
roll.
So, what's that?
I said how I roll.
Yeah. Okay, good, good. So the last time we talked a lot about things that happened in Chris's past growing up. And I think I've published the two episodes and we somehow lost the last half, so nobody got to see that. We can talk a little bit more about that. But among other things, but really, I haven't talked to Chris in a long time because he wasn't online for a really long time. And I don't know, it was just through Facebook that I talked to him before. And so no one really knew what happened. I think he just went off of media and well, no one knew why. So maybe you can tell us a little bit why you did that and what it did for you.
Yeah. So first of all, I want to apologize because my headphone was acting up. So I'm gonna try to speak up and so we can get the audio. But let's see. I never was ever a social media guy to begin with. It was all new to me. I know people like to have MySpace and other forms of like social media and things like that. I was never into that, never into Facebook, never into the whole social media thing for just other reasons. But in 2017, when I finally got sober and I had that like that big transformation and like my life was headed in a different direction. I was just excited to like all the things I was learning and everything I was talking about. I would share it with everybody around me,
Mm.
and I was like just geeking out too much, and nobody wanted to hear it. And I was like, well, let me just share this online. And so that's really how it started. I never even got on until 2017, and it was just mainly like posting ideas. I also wanted a like a place to have all my stuff, because a lot of times I really just post to myself. Like somebody asked me the other day, "What's your strategy?" And I was like, just things I want to learn or things I want to remind myself about. And so if it helps somebody, fine. But it really is like I journal like a lot. Like I have a lot of just journals everywhere. And so
Mhm.
I'm always talking to myself. And when I go back and I see, I'm like, oh, this is cool, and then I'll put it and sometimes people think I'm attacking or, people's projections come out and I'm just like, that's funny. Like this was literally me talking to myself. But I mean,
Yeah,
one person will get it. And so that's really all that matters.
yeah.
As far as why I got off, it became I don't know, it just became like something that I felt like I had to do, to the point where like my filter, like everything outside, I'm like, I would see a nice scenery and I'm like, oh, I should post this, or I want to take a picture. And it just started like
Yeah.
it started kind of like directing my life. And then I was also going through like some big changes, which I wasn't like really aware that they were happening at the time. But because like I'm usually like solid, mindset wise or whatever, I kind of made the choices and decisions of a lot of the big changes I was making, but it was affecting me. I was like grieving, um, like certain friendships that I was distancing myself from, certain environments I was getting away from, and I guess it was like I don't know, I wasn't like 100% there. And so I would notice like little things would trigger me and I'm like, this is different, like I'm always like things usually don't matter. I was
Mhm.
looking back like when I was like a couple posts where I felt like I was complaining and I was just like, wait, what's going on here? And and then I remember I made a post. I've been thinking about that. I always have this idea where I just want to like disappear. And but that's like normal. Like I always just want to just like disappear off the grid, like randomly. It's probably being a Sag or being my mom's son. I don't know why, but I just always have these thoughts. So I thought about like just getting off of all social media because like one, it wasn't even like something that I'm like used to, it's fairly new.
Yeah.
And I had posted something like that. I was like, man, I'm thinking about getting off of here. I don't even know if this is like what's the point? Um, and like a lot of people was like, no, you gotta stay, and like we want your post, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, all right, so I get that, I'll stay. And then at that point when I was like, wait, I feel like, what do you mean you can't get off social media? So just like one day I just deactivated both
Yeah.
my Instagrams, my Facebook, and I changed my number. And
Yeah.
so
You told me that you had no
yeah,
way to
no
get a
no
hold of you.
contact. Yeah,
They wouldn't contact you.
I stopped going to the church I was going to for like 4 years. Um, it was like it was just I just wanted to retreat like to myself. Um,
4 months or 4 years?
no, for I was going there for 4 years to that
Oh,
church.
I
Yeah, yeah,
see. I see. So you stopped
for
going, yeah, to a church you
yeah.
went.
And
Okay.
then so a lot of people thought like something like bad would happen, but I was like, as long as I'm with my mom and my sister, and like nothing really, like nothing else really matters. And so as long as they
Yeah.
knew where I was at and everything was cool. And I just took the time to like just disconnect from it. Plus, I was getting habits that I wasn't really too proud of, like scrolling, doom
Oh,
scroll,
people need
and
to hear this right now.
yeah,
Like
and
I'm
so
serious.
yeah, and I
Myself
love
included.
studying. I love studying, and so it was like taken away from my study. Um, even the church, like the church is amazing. Everyone's amazing, but I like to influence like my own thoughts and have my own voice going on, and like my whole voice was just being drowned out by everything and everybody around me. And since I wasn't really like there fully, or like how I like to like, I wasn't like, I don't know what the word to
Present,
describe it.
present.
Yeah, present. So then it was like I was easily influenced at this time because usually like everything goes on around me. I'm aware of it. I'm not saying like everyone gets influenced. It's impossible to not be influenced by
Yeah.
your environment, but like I'm usually like solid in like what in my beliefs and what I think. And so I started reading the Bible, and then like really started I've been going to church since I was a kid, and then I left the church and came back. And even when I was coming back, like it was good, but I wasn't really like all in. I was there just to show up, congregate with people, be around certain like hear certain messages. Everything was cool, but I wasn't like all in. I was like, so I really opened
Yeah.
the Bible, and I was like, let me read this for myself. Let me make my own, distinction of like what's going on in there. Let me see like have my own relationship with Jesus. Let me pray. And slowly things started like transforming. But in that, I was also feeling like a lot of the things that I thought were correct, or how can I say, a lot of like beliefs that I created along the road of everything I learned, like they were all being shooken up. And I was like, man, having to let
Tested,
go.
like tested.
Yeah. So to be honest, like the whole search that I was on was to prove my mom wrong, right? And so, because she's like everything's in the Bible, and I'm like, no, like I'm gonna find the answers to something. I don't know the answer I was looking for.
Yeah.
Guess I just like try to make sense of reality, experience, consciousness, um, like just human nature and beings. And so like I really thought I figured it out. I was so prideful, so boastful. I'm like, oh, it's all mindset, right? Like everything's just in the mind. Like everything could be explained somehow by the mind, right? And so really got into all the self-help thing. But then I really started looking at like human biology, neuroscience, and then like it led me to like spirituality because there were just some things that I couldn't um, just dispute with mindset, right? Like it was all just intellectual knowledge. And so I like to think like there's different levels of consciousness, and first is like these base level desires, which I was living like in a long time, just self-seeking and the things I was doing in the streets or whatnot. And then when I had that transformation, it was more like an intellectual transformation. It was all just intellect, intellect, intellect. Everything could be just explained. But we had talked right before this about the things going on in the world. I started
Yeah.
to see like some of these like people I would look up to were just like broken, and when certain things would happen in their lives and or certain things would happen around, like this whole other part of them would come out. And I'm like, wait, I thought this person was way more solid than that. And so
Mm.
I started to see like what's like really going on. I don't know. And then
Did that
plus
make you, when you saw that with other people experiencing things that you might have been too, like, did that make you feel better or worse or like relieved a little bit or kind of like sad?
it just made me search more. I was just like, um, I don't know about I probably felt like all different kind of emotions. I don't know how to label them, but it made me like search more. I'm like, okay, so my search is not completely over. I don't have anything figured out. And so I went back and I was like, let me give the Bible a shot. Like, let me really like stop being so hard-headed. And plus, like every single book and every teaching and every like road that I went down would always have some portion of the Bible or something that I knew was from the Bible that they just ran it like it was theirs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, this is an influential book. Um, let me see what's in there. I was just being hard-headed, and when I would like open it and see it, and like the way I like to study and learn, it's like I always want to find out like more context. So it's like I would read one little portion, I'm like, well, who wrote this? Right? What time and era was this? What was this person going through? And then like it would lead me to all these like stories and actual like historical realistic events that were going on. And I'm like, oh man, this is more than just like some book, that
Wow.
you would
Yeah.
just passage out. And which is like what a lot of people do. And so, and then I also realized like a lot of it's so practical. It's just like so practical in nature. I like simple explanations to complex things. And it was just like, if you do this, this will happen. Don't do this instead.
Yeah.
And I was
Do unto
like,
others as you would have them, right? Like the golden rule.
simple,
Yeah.
right? And so, but that's like, sounds good for a fortune cookie unless you actually apply it in your life, right? So if you
Yeah.
apply that in your life, we'll use that as an example. Like, how much better would your life be if you treated people the way that you want to be treated,
Because
right?
everybody wants respect more than
And
anything else,
everybody wants respect.
more than love, more than anything. That's what they want, I think.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
like just that one little portion, like if you would just apply that into just try it for a whole year, like, like let me just grab this one little piece and see if my life changes for the better. And like at the end, that's what like I'm about is for people changing their lives for the better, giving people, something, a tool that they could use um to like change their experience or what they got going on, kind of ease the suffering going on. And
Mhm.
but yeah, I was like, man, there was just so much in there. Like, I mean, I haven't read it like at all. It's like I don't know if I'll probably ever read the whole thing, but
Yeah, most people won't. Like even
yeah,
people in the church and that are strong in their faith don't really haven't really read the Bible from start to finish, especially, the Old Testament, but maybe the New Testament, but it you'd be probably surprised to know how many haven't.
yeah. And people read it with biases, like they're trying to
Yeah.
find what's wrong with it. Like how I was reading it, I'm like, well, this can't be real or this or this. Like I'm already reading it with these filters instead of just
Mhm.
how could I apply this to my life and would it make my life better? And if it
Yeah.
did, like, yeah, how dumb would I be to not apply it to my life? Like that's just I'm
Right.
just hating on myself at that point.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and another thing was when I got into self-help and and this is like there's another book called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I
Stephen
might
Covey.
have it. I'm not sure.
Yeah, Stephen
I
Covey.
might.
I love that book. That was one of the books that like started it for me. And I started getting into like all the like the newer books. So I went back to that one. Like I read that one And I was like, he talked about how for the first he studied 200 years of self-help and psychology and all that, right? And all the literature for 150 years were about character, were about like who you are as like a person. And then like 50 years, the last 50 years, it was all about um like whatever the mind can achieve, it can conceive. We are
Believe.
God,
Yeah.
and like all this like nice, like airy, good feeling stuff, and like whatever people want to hear, right? Because that's what's sold. Like people don't want to hear like you got to be an honest person, like so it was more so focused on personality traits and all the tools, all the techniques was just to have a pleasing personality. You could just
Yeah.
be happy and think positive and everything will be good, but ignore the like aspects of who you are, right? And so I started to look at my character, and like that's really what the Bible was also like showing me, because I had this idea, especially coming with the NLP background and knowing how self-talk is, knowing how you describe your situation, like plays a big role. I didn't like the idea when they're just um, like we're broken people and like we need God and like all these things. I'm like, that just sounds so self-defeating and like
Yes.
you know? And so I'm like, no, people are good people. People are inherently good people. You just get to choose to be. But I was really blinded to like at least myself, like within myself. I was doing this whole personality thing and trying to just be positive and good on the outside and everything, but not really looking at my character, right? And so your character comes out when the storms of life like really, really hit and when things really, really happen. And so when I'm reading the Bible, like I'm reading it now, like looking at myself, right? I'm just like, because I like to really focuses on me and what I got going on. And I'm just like, God, I'm like this. I'm like this. I'm a liar. I'm a cheater. I'm a this. I'm like, I've done all these things and I've been doing them since I was a long time ago. And I never really thought to like really work on that, like work on my character. It was always like, I don't know, just trying to dress up. It's like grabbing a piece of turd, right? And then just like dressing it up all nice, like there's still a piece, there's still a piece of
Lipstick
shit
on a
in there.
pig. Lipstick's on a pig. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So, and
It's
I'm
still
like,
a
okay.
pig.
And I knew that because I studied like Stoicism and Greek philosophers and like Marcus Aurelius, like they really emphasize that, like honor, integrity, and like living a life of good character, right? And so I was like, God, I haven't been working on my character. I've been really trying to like avoid that. And I've just been blinded saying I'm just a good person, because I think positive, I do positive, but it's like I really had to look inside. And I was like, all that other stuff is cool and it works, building rapport with people.
Yeah.
But but I could sense it. And I guess I never really knew how to put words to it. But I had this like intuition where it's like I would see certain people and I'm just like on the surface, everything's good. But I'm like, man, there's just something off about this person. And
Yeah.
then I'm like, oh, they're not really like genuine. They're not really, they're using all this stuff to like look good. And then people always reveal themselves after a while. Like George Floyd, for example, I use that, right? So I was shocked when that happened that like all these people I looked up to, like all their colors showed. I was outside recording what was going on because I like to just go to big events. Like anything going on, I like to go and then get footage. I call myself like a reporter, but just on my own. I'm just like out there. And I'm
Yeah.
just seeing what's going on. And I remember I recorded and people were hitting me up like, why are you out there looting? And you're just like the rest of them, like little things like this. Like, I'm like, the rest of who? And why would you just
Yeah.
assume I'm out here doing what? And like, they were just so, and I was like, man, why are they like this? Or even with what's going
Yeah.
on in Gaza and with like in Palestine, like that threw me off. That was another big reason I went offline because I needed to make
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that
needed to
makes a
make
lot of
sense of
sense.
that myself. I can't just give an opinion, right? And I
I
don't really
know.
know what's going on. And so I really wanted to know. And it's like I hear everybody giving their opinion or saying something, but it's like you like, I don't know, you don't know.
A
But
lot of it was where, I mean, yeah, like it was. it divided people so much, but I found so much of it, from at least what I saw, is that a lot of their opinions and beliefs came from where they were from or their lineage type of thing, which I don't think is right. Like, I
Yeah,
think it needs to be beyond that, right? Like, you don't lump everyone in the same category
yeah,
because of where you're from. Like, that's biases that everyone has, but yeah, I know it's a tough one because it's one of those things that you can't win. Like, I told someone the other day that we're doing a podcast coming up in a month or so. I told them I'll talk about anything, but I will not talk about politics or abortion, because those two, you lose no matter what you say.
mhm,
No, there's going to be someone who's like, you're wrong.
mhm,
So I don't want to talk about those two things. Plus, politics, I don't know anything about it. So I don't like to discuss something I'm not, um, an expert at, or at least have some kind of knowledge. But with the war stuff, yeah, it's like I don't even know what to say concerning that.
yeah.
It's awful, and
It's
people don't
a
realize what's going on. They
complicated
think they
issue.
do, but they
Mhm.
don't.
Oh, and the more I try to unpack it and figure it out, like I don't. Like I realize I don't, and it took a really long time for me to um I mean, I just came to the terms of like it's terrible, it's gonna happen and innocent people are gonna die. And so that made me even like
Yeah,
pray even more, I'm like really praying to God for mercy and grace on people. And it hurt, like it really, really hurt. But you got all these
two
a lot
wrongs
of
don't
people
make a
just
right.
quiet.
Two
Yeah, all
wrongs
these
don't
people
make a
were just
right.
quiet about it. It was what I was saying. I was like, man, all these people that are so opinionated, that are so like this way about that, like to not affect their business or to not affect their thing,
Yeah,
they're just shut up. And I was like, man, that was surprising. Like people just turning away, like not looking. And it's just a really complicated issue, so I get it. But
yeah,
I don't know. I guess I don't know. We just kind of went off there, but pretty much it's just character. I started to see a lot of people's character, and so I started working on mine. And I started to see myself like the shadow parts of myself that I was just like avoiding and not wanting to acknowledge that they were there, and just to show up as like a better person, And
yeah.
so yeah, and when I
And
felt
that was before you went off media. And
mm,
then while you were off media, was it like kind of like how long was it, by the way? It was a while.
yeah, I didn't count a couple months.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I didn't like have a set date or just a plan. I didn't know if I was ever gonna come back. I was like,
you're right.
and
Yeah.
people I was seeing people in the street, they're like, hey man, what happened to you? I thought you were in jail, or I thought something happened. I'm like, I'm
Right.
okay. And they're like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm just off the grid right now. He's like, well, what do you do? I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how, like,
Oh,
what do
I
you do?
know,
I'm like,
right?
what I did in 1996 before any of this existed. Like, I'm outside, I'm working out, I'm spending time with my family. And I started going to my mom's church. So I didn't like completely stop going to church, but I started going to her church more because they have like actual Bible studies. And so I just wanted
Yeah.
to like more. And then I didn't think it was like a good decision to not go to church, but I did just want to switch it up, be around just a whole nother environment, other group of people. And I don't know, it was the best
Yeah.
decision. It was the best decision I made, honestly. And yeah, I'm
And
back.
you can do it. Like it's like a fast. Like you don't, I've
Yeah.
done one of those too. And it's like, okay, how in the heck, are you going to accomplish this? But you do it, and you do one day and then you do the
I
next.
fasted the other day, 5 days, just water. And
Really?
that was a really interesting experience. Um, yeah, I realized we don't need food as much as we like think we do.
As long
Um,
as you've got water. Yeah, really. Okay.
but it
Wow.
was more so like again, that was prayer and really just trying to get certain prayers answered and trying to get my relationship closer. And so it was something I had in my heart. It wasn't like all the other times I've done fast, it was more so lose weight or like prove something to myself that I could do it.
Yeah.
This was the first time
Yeah.
where I was like, let me really like lean in
Yeah.
and it was
It's
definitely
supposed to be good for your brain, like for your mind, and clear your mind. But just as a recap too, of like for the people that are going to see this, that maybe don't know who you or I are. When we talked about a year ago, we talked a little bit about your past, and I'm just wondering if you could recap a little bit of why, like, you came to the position where you decided to become a Christian, like what brought you to that place, what led up to that spot, and just what it was like for you to make that decision.
Yeah, so I come from like a rough background, gangs, drugs, in the streets. I don't know, I was molested when I was a kid, really angry about that. No father around, poverty. Um, we moved to a neighborhood full of gangs. They would all congregate in front of my house. Grew up like just seeing them, glorifying that. I was really
Yeah.
like angry with God for like what had happened to me. I was angry with just people, and I was always getting jumped and beat up, and um like a lot. Like I've been staying with my mom, so I'm getting a lot of the stories when I was younger. And she's like, "Yeah, I remember you came back home and you were beat up this time, you were beat up that time, and you're," and I was like, "Damn, I was always getting beat up, by grown men everywhere." And like, so I was just angry. I was just angry, and so teacher, abusing me, so I gave up on school. Um, some of the abuse, so the abuse started before I even went to school or church. So I was already like traumatized from that. Find my safe haven in school. Teacher, was her. And then I thought I found my safe haven in church. Same thing happened there. And so like
Really?
yeah, so I really didn't have anything as far as like a safe place in my mind. My mom, she was always like my safe place, but she was a single mom, had to work, no money. And but she did instill like God and the Bible into. I was a super Christian as a kid, for sure. And so, and I always had a relationship with God. Like I would cut school. Even when I was mad at him, I was like, that's who I would talk to all day, 'cause I stopped going in the third grade and I would just like kind of roam
Yeah.
around. And so, um, and I would just talk to him like we had a like, full blown relationship. But after a while, you grow up. I want money, I want girls, I see the lifestyle. I'm just like, okay, maybe I could be good at this, like. And so I just went like full fledged into that. Got tired of getting bullied and getting treated a certain way that, I became very, violent towards other, not random, but I definitely knew how to protect myself and the people I cared about. And so that led me down, getting shot, getting stabbed, getting like in and out of jail. Eventually trauma became too much. Lost the relationship with my daughter. That kind of took me overboard. Started doing drugs, got lost into that, and had a moment where I couldn't stop and I couldn't die. Like there's just no way that I could die, no matter how much I wanted to, no matter how many like opportunities presented themselves. Like there was always a miracle moment. And like I mean like literally dead and coming back many times. Um, and so like I needed a change. So I reached out to God in my anger, in my mess, asked for a miracle. Miracle happened. I never gave him a thank you or nothing. I'm just like, oh, I'm sober now. Let me go back to what I was like getting into, I started going back to the street. I started just acting like I did it, like I got over this, but it was a full blown miracle. There was no withdrawal. I was on 120 milligrams of methadone. If anybody on here knows, you don't just get off of that. Doctors were calling my mom. They're like, "Where's your son? Like, we know he's going back to the streets." I couldn't explain it to people because like I knew it was impossible, But I did get into the mind, into mindset. Like I started my journey. I've always been into this stuff, but I really like went full into meditation, and I started like to learn other religions, and
That's
um,
cool.
yeah. So I was just like doing anything except for like the one that saved me. Like I didn't even. I was like, you know? And so,
Yeah.
um, let's see, I had like weed was legal here at this time now. So, started like a weed company, delivering 24-hour delivery. Um, Still drinking, but I wasn't, when I say like I stopped getting high, like I was shooting up. I was on every hard drug you can think of. And then but I was freed from that. I never got a withdrawal. I never got a craving. I never left the environments that, those things were being done. And I was just like, I felt like I was on top of the world and like other people couldn't do it. I'm like, you guys are just mentally weak. That's all that is, you know? Not understanding that doctors couldn't, no one could explain it. They're like, it's impossible. Like you're on something. I'm like, I'll piss for you guys right now and do piss tests. They're like, this just doesn't make sense. Like it's just not like possible. This doesn't
So
happen,
was it cold turkey though,
Cold
or
turkey. It was cold turkey. It was,
but
and
what brought you to that cold turkey moment? Like, did you just wake up one day and you're like, that's it?
yeah, so it
Or
was my birthday. I was already thinking, right? And so I had many of those moments. They call it like a rock bottom moment. I had one of those like every couple months. And I did pray and I cried to God and I'm like, I really want this, but I really didn't. It's like I wanted,
yeah.
can't really explain like how it was, but it was a full um on my knees in an empty room at my friend's house, like really like I can't go on any further like this. Like God, please, I need a miracle and I can't do it. And like I promise like I won't ever go back if you do this for me. But I tried to do it on my own because I didn't want to like I just wanted the credit. And so the next day, like I had never slept without drugs. So that was like the first sign. Like I fell asleep that day and I was like, well, maybe I still have some in my system from the day before.
No.
Um, Wake up to the birds like singing heck of loud and outside. I'm like, man, what's going on? I go outside, I'm like, oh wow, I slept through the night. I'm like, maybe this is like, I mean, I'll even tell you the story if you want to hear it. It was like a real miracle.
Yes. Well, yeah,
Okay,
that's I would
so I
like
was
people to hear
okay.
this.
So yeah, so I said, God do this for me, whatever. I didn't tell anybody about it. And really now when I talk to my mom about it, I really act like if it was my prayer. But I apparently like at that same time, like her and some people had got together and they were like really, really praying, fasting for who knows for like a week or something before I had that moment. And so I didn't know this like at all. I just thought like I did it. And so prayed. So I had to go to the clinic every day. They dose you, right? And methadone, it's like, so if you do opiates, every 4 hours, like you're gonna need to get another fix. Every 4 hours, like it wears off, bones hurt, you're pooing yourself, shivers, like
Wow.
sweats, like you're just it's all bad. And everyone knew like if I didn't get my fix, it was gonna be bad. And I was gonna do whatever I had to do to like get it. Because I couldn't go. It was just I was too weak for it. It was just I just couldn't. And I tried to like last 24 hours and I'm like, if I could sleep, I probably would have been able to do it. Like one time I tried and sleep for like 72 hours and I almost like crazy for not sleeping. And I'm just like, man, because I would see some people like withdraw and go to sleep, but I couldn't sleep. Like I don't know how to explain it. I couldn't sleep. And so what they do is they give you this liquid, which is like methadone, and it's a synthetic opioid, and it's in your system for 24 hours. So instead of like having to get a fix, you just have to go dose once a day. And so the idea behind that is that you find out what your dosage is, where you're comfortable, so that you can live life, go to work, do the normal things, and then slowly wean you off every
Okay.
week. It has to be done by little. Like just say you're like on 30 milligrams, they'll wean you off 3 milligrams a week. Cause like if you go off 5, like you'll start withdrawing already, like really bad. But what these clinics do is that they try to give you more. And they're like, when you get there, they're like, is this working? And I'm already an addict. I'm like, no. And they're like, okay, good. We'll give you a 10. And then like, and if it doesn't work, don't worry. We'll give you 10 more the next day. And like they just kept going up. And so people just go up. And the reason I would get on this is because they give it to you in jail. So I always had these warrants. And so I knew when I'm about to go to jail, I'm like, okay, I've been on the run for like 8 months. Like I'm due. Like they're gonna come pretty soon. So I'd go to the clinic, get dosed. And then when I go to jail, I'm like, okay, good. They give it to you in jail. And so but yeah, so the clinic when I'm going, they're just like giving me more, giving me more, giving me more, giving me more, giving me more. And I get to like 120. Like no human being on earth needs 120 milligrams of methadone. I have friends that died in front of me off of 50, and I just had a really high tolerance. And I didn't want to think, I didn't want to feel, I didn't want to exist. So I'm just like, let me numb myself as much as possible. So I get all the way to 120. But I didn't want to do it anymore. And so I'm telling them, I had set a date in my mind. I'm like, okay, by my birthday, like I just can't keep continuing like this. And so I'm telling them, like, I want to wean myself off enough to like my birthday. And they're like, you're just way too high on the milligrams. Like, it's just not possible. And you got to fight them to lower your dosage. They're like, no, we'll give you more, because they're
Wow.
just how they get their funds. So
I
I got
know.
to,
I was just gonna say they get paid, which
oh
is
yeah,
really shitty.
they
Like
get, they get,
that's
they get,
right.
they get dose. So then,
Yeah.
uh, So I'm like, man, I'm fighting with these guys, and I'm like, nope, drop me five, nope, drop me five, and I probably got to like 110, and I'm like fine with them, and they're just doing like little by little. I'm just like, man, I gotta figure something out. When my birthday was coming up, I'm like, I really don't want this. And that's when I have found a room and I just like had that moment. I'm sitting down. I remember my mom always told me like, you gotta pray to God for miracles. Like you can't do everything on your own. Like certain things are impossible for you to do. But in the Bible, it says, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. It didn't say you could do some things. It didn't say you could do everything but get off methadone. It don't say you
I
could
can
do
do all
everything
things.
but start a business. It didn't say you could do everything but, Ace, it says I do all things, right? So that's very simplistic. Okay, I can do everything. How? Through Christ. How? It gives you strength, right? So I didn't see it like as a moment of submitting, but that's really what it was. And so I do that, whatever. I go to sleep. The next day, I'm on the couch. If you don't make it there by 2 o'clock, it shuts down, right? It was like between 7 and 2. And my friend would always take me. And so I'm just sitting on the couch and watching TV, and it's 1:45. And he was always late. He's always just running late. And he looks, he's like, oh man, let's go. And I'm not saying nothing because I'm like, this is just weird. Like, why am I not like already? So just out of habit, like I get up and I follow him. He runs outside and I'm like walking slowly. And he's like, come on, let's go. We're gonna make it on time. I promise you, my bad. I'm sorry. Like we're gonna make it on time. And he gets to the car. And when I'm walking down the stairs, I get to the street, like I hear it like clearly in this ear, like a whisper, everything, like you don't have to go. It's like very quick, like you don't have to go. I turn around, I'm like, who the fuck said that? And I was like, damn, am I crazy? And I told him, I'm like, we're not gonna make it. He's like, I swear we're gonna make it. I'm like, nah, I got some pills. Like, don't even worry about it. We'll go tomorrow. And like, I didn't have anything. He's like, no, you don't. I'm like, I'm good. Like, don't worry about it. I'm gonna be good. He's like, all right, my bad. And I'm like, man, this is weird. So, but I'm not telling nobody. I'm just like, is this even like real? I'm like, if I
Like
can
a
sleep,
real voice that
yeah.
said,
And I'm
yeah.
like, and the wind and everything, like a whisper in my ear, like, you don't have to go. I'm like, what? So then I go to sleep that night and I fall asleep again. I wake up and that's when I heard all the birds outside, like so loud. And they woke me up and I go outside and I'm looking and like things just look like different, like everything. I couldn't explain it. Like I was like, why do things look different? And so I was like, maybe I'm just tripping. This can't be it. So I was like, if I fall asleep tonight, like that's really weird. And I ended up falling asleep that night. And I woke up again, same thing in the morning. The birds were like loud. And I'm like, why out of all days, like these birds? And I come outside again and I realized, I'm like, wait, the birds are singing every morning. Like, you never even noticed it. Like you've been asleep this whole time. And I'm looking at the like at flowers. I'm looking at like trees, like everything's just so colorful. And like it was like I was looking through different eyes and I couldn't explain it. And that's why I spent the next 30 days like without telling nobody, just like walking around touching flowers, like seeing life. And
Yeah.
that's when I started taking pictures. And that's when I actually like I started by posting like my pictures of just nature and just like I was just so like present in every single moment. And like I knew I was free. And so, but for 30 days I didn't tell nobody I'm lying like I'm doing pill because I wasn't going to the clinic anymore, but I'm hiding from everybody. I'm not in any of my environments. I'm just like I'll just go out and just roam the street. And I'm just like, wow, like, and I have been set free. And so after that, like my brother was still getting high at that point, and there was other people that like I knew that I was getting high, and I was going down there to talk to them after, and they're like, "Bro, where you been?" And I'm like, "I'm sober now." And like, "What'd you do?" I'm like, "You just got to stop, you weak-minded person. Like, what's wrong with you? Look at you dope fiend," and just like,
That's what you were thinking and saying.
yeah, I'm telling them, I'm like, "Man, what do you guys doing here? Get up, change, like what happened?" I'm like, I just stopped. Why? Because I didn't want to no more. I'm just like, I didn't know how to explain it. What am I gonna tell them? Like, I prayed and God made a miracle. Like I was almost like ashamed to say it, you know?
Yeah.
And
Because
so
people won't believe, because people won't believe you. Yeah.
if I told people I got my chakras aligned, like people would get it. If I told people I went and saw a shaman in something, like I probably wouldn't even be shy to say it, and I'd be okay. It just that's not what happened. But if that happened, I would have been telling everybody, like, oh, I saw this
Yeah.
shaman, or I did this mindset trick, or I like this, more than like I'd be perfectly fine. If I said the devil saved me, I brought it, run around and tell people, well, I prayed to the devil, he did it. But to talk about God it's very, and this is a lot of people. This is not just like
Yeah. Why does it do
another thing
that?
I'm noticed.
I don't understand.
I do. I get it. Why? It's just ideas and that have been implanted in our head. The same reason why people see just a group of black people and they just get like scared. This has been going on for years. They implant ideas in people's head, and
Do you think it has to do with
programming
control?
and conditioning.
Control?
Yeah.
Like people don't like to be controlled. Like think about COVID and everything that happened since then. I talk to people all the time that say, "Oh, since COVID, things are not the same and things are bad now and like they haven't changed." And I tend to agree with them when it comes to certain things. Like people's patience now is done. Like no one has patience anymore and they're
Yeah,
just
so
going to say what they think.
I saw the best thing ever, right? Because they try to like, they always remix these sicknesses and come out with a new one. And so they're about to drop the mixtape right now, and they're like, and I saw it like once you understand like hypnosis and like all these guys know hypnosis, right? Like all these big conglomerates, like they know if I can implant a suggestion in someone's mind, um, like it'll take root, it'll grow, and they'll like talk about it like it's theirs. Like people think they like McDonald's, right? For example, like nobody actually really likes it. You just somehow you get what I'm saying? Like
No one likes McDonald's. You're right.
yeah,
Their
no
coffee's
one really
okay.
likes it. Their
Yeah.
coffee's great. Like I like to go.
Yeah, their coffee's better
Um,
than Tim Hortons. That's
for
a
real.
Canadian
And
thing.
it's
So
cheap. And because
yeah,
they know people want their coffee. So if you come in, you're gonna get a McMuffin with that. You're not just gonna come get a coffee.
it's
So
convenience and it's well known. It's a brand.
yeah, but they
Everybody
start
knows
when
that
they're
brand.
young, right? So if we can get them when they're young and we can make this a happy place and we can like put it in commercials, it's been programming and conditioning over and over and over. If you get them young, it's just there forever. And you think you want it, but you just act, you're a robot. We all are. Like we tend to
Yeah.
just like no one's really making conscious choices pretty much. These are just all unconscious actions from
Yeah.
subconscious programming, and if they can do that, they got a customer for life. And that's how ideas are implanted, it's how beliefs are implanted, it's how, this is what I say, people, it really is like a matrix, and yeah. So
Yeah. What were we talking about before that?
yeah, so